This is better than we thought. We're going to be talking about the Chicago Bulls and their youth movement, and we are ranking each building block piece for the Chicago Bulls and if the Chicago Bulls, in fact, got it right with their future youth movement. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe, and this is another episode of Bulls Digest. And before we jump into the hot topic of the day, I want to go ahead and share a special message from the sponsor of today's video, NordVPN. Hopefully the Chicago Bulls can get a clearer plan and move the franchise forward. Unlike the Chicago Bulls, you can have a plan when it comes to protecting your devices from online threats. That's right. The best way to do this is with NordVPN, which you can get by clicking the link in the description to this video. With NordVPN Threat Protection Pro, you can block against fake websites, against phishing, and other fraud and other scams online. That's right. You can go ahead and protect your Wi-Fi from being compromised with a single click. You can encrypt and defend your virtual private network. Make sure that you go ahead and you improve your security and block pop-ups. And once again, you can go ahead and get this with nordvpn.com/bulls. This is an exclusive offer where you get 4 months of extra service along with Nord's risk-free 30-day money-back guarantee. All right, so we're going to be talking about some things that the Chicago Bulls have actually done right, not trades that they should have done, but actually getting it right as far as moving in the right direction with their youth movement. And this particular piece looks at the building blocks for the Chicago Bulls, and it ranks those players. And so the players, starting from 1st to 8th, it was Coby White, it was Josh Giddey, it was Patrick Williams, it was Dosummu, then you have Buzelis, and then we also had Jalen Smith along with Julian Phillips and then Dalen Terry. All right. And so we're going to be breaking this down. And I will say before we jump into it, I think that Dosummu should have been ahead of Patrick Williams. But let's start off with why Coby White was ranked number 1 on this particular article. And I think that the author is right on point here, because look, you're looking at the points that Coby White has put up: 19.1 points per game, the 5.1 assists, and 4.5 rebounds a game. I absolutely think that that is trending towards star level. All right. I think that he absolutely can be a franchise player. And I love the fact that they're saying his all-around game could be like a Fred VanVleet. All right. So to start off with that, look, Fred VanVleet won an NBA championship with the Toronto Raptors. And so I love that. And I think that Coby White absolutely is a championship player. And I love the fact that he has owned up to the leadership aspect of things. So there's a lot to love about Coby White, not just on the court, but I love the fact that he wants all the smoke, man. He wants to be the guy, and he is okay with having that pressure out there and holding players accountable. And I think that that is why he is going to get to the next level. That's why I feel like he is going to be a franchise player for the Chicago Bulls if they continue to let him go out there and play his game. And I think that he can still play his game regardless of who's alongside of him. I think that, this could be a great backcourt with whoever's beside Coby White. All right. And I think that, he has that ability to play off the ball. He's definitely got the ability to create. He's willing to defend as well. I mean, he's not the greatest defender, but his willingness, you have to love that. And so I think that Coby White for sure is number 1, because I think he could be the one that is closest to getting to a franchise type of player. Next up, talking about Josh Giddey. All right. And so they talk about Josh Giddey and the triple-double machine. All right. And they talk about the fact that, he really has got to find his way on the offense this year. All right. He definitely does well with controlling the flow of the offense. And I get it with Josh Giddey. He is a stat stuffer, but he is going to have to add a little bit more to his offensive bag. He's got to be able to knock down the jump shot consistently. And I know he can make them, But I mean, you don't want defenses to just pack it in. And so that's the big thing with Josh Giddey. And I'm going to say this, and I think if he is not trending towards getting better, I think that if it comes down to the NBA trade deadline next season, he's going to be heading into restricted free agency. You might want to move on from Josh Giddey before you go into offering him a contract. But it's all going to depend on the fact that he's going to be able to knock down some jump shots, because you know that Coby White is going to draw two defenders. So that means that Josh Giddey is going to have to knock down some shots, and I already know he can cut off the ball. But, if they play that cut, he's got to be able to knock down some shots. So that's okay with having him at 2 with the upside. All right, so next, they talk about Patrick Williams, and I think that this should be Dosummu instead. But with Patrick Williams, they really talk about the upside and the potential, okay? And so for me, I've said this on some videos in the past. I feel like his potential for me is more like a Luol Deng. I would love to see him get to about 17, 18 points a game, right around like maybe 6 to 8 rebounds a game, and perhaps about 2 to 4 assists a game, still with a good shooting percentage. But more importantly, he's got to play in at least 70 games a year for me in order to move forward with Patrick Williams. And I'm not wanting him to necessarily be a superstar, but can he be a very, very good role player that we can build around? All right, so that is the key for me. And much like Josh Giddey, if I'm not seeing that he is trending in that direction, I might have to consider, again, going ahead and trading for some assets, because you don't want to have another 3 or 4 years of what you have already had with Patrick Williams. You've got to move on sooner than later, and that's one of the big issues with the Chicago Bulls. They hold on to assets and they don't trade them when they should. But look, he's young enough, and there is a chance that Patrick Williams can really meet that potential. And he has no more excuses. He doesn't have DeRozan in the way. He doesn't have Alex Caruso in the way. And I think soon he's not going to have Zach Lavine in the way. So he's really got to move forward. Next up, they talk about Dosummu a little bit here. They talk about Dosummu being a player that he makes winning plays. I've compared him a lot to Jimmy Butler and his path, starting there off the bench defensively and really carving out a niche and learning how to play offense in the NBA. I love Dosummu, and I think that he actually would be my third building block piece as far as rankings are concerned. So that's just me personally. And I hope that the Chicago Bulls utilize the fact that he's on a team-friendly contract. I hope that if he is coming off the bench, they utilize him correctly. Let this guy continue to play and really develop into a great player. Next, they talk about Modest Buzelis, and they talk about the fact that Modest Buzelis and his defense immediately translates into the NBA. His ability to chase down players and get blocks, his ability to play the passing lane and start the fast break. He can dribble. And then also, too, he has a little bit of craftiness inside that three-point line. Like, he can hit him with those one-legged step backs. He certainly is a great highlight finisher, but he has got to develop a three-point shot. And the one thing that I said about him is that his jump shot is not broke. It's just a matter of him getting comfortable. And is he going to be a corner specialist three-pointer? Like, is he a three-point shooter, Is he a guy that sits in the corner and knocks down threes that way? Is he going to be able to get three-point shots to go in off of a dribble rhythm? Is he that type of three-point shooter? Is he just more of just a catch and shoot on the fast break? Like, he's got to get comfortable shooting the three ball, and that only happens by getting some reps. And so I like Modest Buzelis, and I think that Modest Buzelis, he could be the person that shoots up the chart very quickly, all right? Because with his willingness to compete and his belief in himself and thinking that he's the number one pick in this year's draft, which he might be the rookie of the year if he's able to get the playing time necessary and continue to develop. I absolutely could see Modest Buzelis kind of shooting up this list sooner than later. All right. And so next they talk about not Modest Buzelis, but they talk about Julian Phillips. All right, so Julian Phillips is a guy that, to me, Julian Phillips is a player that they say, look, he's only played about 8.1 minutes per game in the 40 contests that he appeared in. And I just think that with Julian Phillips, like, he's got to play a little bit more. I think that that's the thing, especially if you think that he's going to be a Derrick Jones Jr. type of player, then you need to play this young man. And I think with some playing time, I think he's absolutely going to take off. His jump shot looked a lot better. I know he didn't, he didn't like rip it up in summer league and, just make highlights and things like that. But he showed me enough to where I'm like, okay, I think that this young man could be very good. Next up, they talk about Dalen Terry, and they talk about Dalen Terry and his ability to really go out and to cause havoc on the defensive end. They talk about the fact that defensively, he's figured it out there, but offensively, he's got to get a little bit better. And my whole thing with that is that offensively, I think that he's going to get there. I'm more impressed with the fact that he's carving out a niche for himself defensively. And let's be honest, if you can play good defense, most times they tell you if you can create a turnover or two, you can create an easy 4 to 6 points right there. Next, he's just going to have to figure out, okay, how can he fit in offensively? Is he a guy that's going to finish breaks? Can he knock down runners in the lane? Is he going to be a nice spot up shooter on the mid range? Can he be a corner 3-point specialist? And I think he can. I think his shot has gotten better. You look at some of the workout videos he's had, I think that he absolutely can be good. And then they talk about, lastly, Jalen Smith. They talk about the fact that he is a player that just needs some game time, right? It seems like we keep saying that same statement. But when you look at his per 36 minutes, they're very, very good. And it suggests that he just needs a starting situation, which I think that could happen sooner than later. There were reports out there that suggest that he could, in fact, be the replacement for Vooch. Who knows? But if they do move on from Vooch, he absolutely is a player that I think, he could be a foundational piece. We'll see. He was the 10th pick in Patrick Williams' draft class, and I think that he just hasn't been in very good opportunities to showcase what he can do. And so, the bottom line is the Chicago Bulls are going to have to play these players. And once again, before we go ahead and throw it to you in the comments, again, he has Coby White, he has Josh Giddey, he has Patrick Williams, he has Dosummu, he has Modest Buzelis, he has Julian Phillips, and then he has Dalen Terry, and he has Jalen Smith ahead of Julian Phillips, as far as the rankings are concerned. So do you think that he was right on par with those rankings? Do you feel like, there's somebody else that could be the franchise player instead of Coby White? Let me know in the comments what you're thinking. And as usual, before we jump out of here, I just want to thank you for going ahead and mashing that subscribe button, as 72.1% of you that watch the videos are not subscribed. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, as we're trying to get to our goal of 5,000 subscribers before the NBA season starts. And even though we're talking about the building blocks for the Chicago Bulls, I'm still saying go Bulls, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.